I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to introduce you today to Heidi Lewis Ivey. She is actually a franchisee of Patrice and Associates. And Heidi, I'm really eager to delve into your career journey today. And I'd love it if you could give us about a 90-second overview of the work that you do and why you got into it.
Okay, well, great. Thank you, Donna, for having me and glad to be here. As Donna said, I am a Patrice and Associates franchisee. We are a recruiting firm specializing in hospitality. My goal is to move my business into tech and finance because that's my background. I do this work because for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to be able to put people in my community to work. And it gave me the flexibility to be able to run my business from anywhere in the world. So those are the reasons why I do what I do.
Okay, awesome. Well, tell us about your career pivot. What were you doing prior and when you decided to start doing this work?
Or I had a 37-year career in financial services. I started out probably around 1986 at a company called the Boston Company, and I was reconciling trades, making sure we got paid by the brokers, and then transitioned to investment management, where I worked on the trading desks. I've priced everything from bonds to stocks and futures. As a matter of fact, I have become known as one of the smartest fixed income or bond persons in operations. Then I moved into technology, and my first job in technology was literally crawling on the floor, under the desks, unplugging servers.
Mm, that sounds like so much fun, and I can visualize it.
Could never wear a skirt. Could never wear a skirt. Um, but it worked. I sat on the help desk and I learned a lot about technology. And it came about because I moved into an investment management firm that had operations, but they didn't understand operations. I did, and they taught me the technology. So it was a good marriage. And then from there, I did some consulting, and then I got into product development and product management, and was able to stand up lines of businesses in the US and in the UK. And we provided back office services for boutique investment managers. So I had the opportunity to work in London and, travel around. It was really a great job.
Well, and I ask you to share that history with our audience because I think so many people get stuck in a place and they feel secure, and there are so many opportunities out there if you're willing to just jump out and take the risk. So I admire the fact that you had that career progression in different areas. So I would love to hear a little bit more about what you said around helping to put people in your community to work. How are you doing that as a franchisee owner?
So it's interesting because part of that reason is I'm a first generation high school and college graduate.
Mm.
And I always knew, Donna, I don't know how I knew, but I always knew that I would be the first person in my family to graduate high school and go to college. And not because, people were teenage pregnancy and things like that. Life happened, right? And because I've had the experiences that I've had, a lot of young people in my community don't have the same experiences that I've had, coming from that kind of a background. And so the way I'm doing that is, just really making sure people understand what the job market looks like, being able to post a job and people contact me. I just spoke to a young lady in the last couple months that didn't have the background for the role that I posted, but what I did was call somebody that I knew that could use her services. She was a young mom, she was a wife, and had been working remotely and needed to have certain things in her life just right around her career. And I reached out to somebody that I knew that could help her. So those are the ways that I'm, putting people to work. Even if I know I don't have a role for them, I will spend the time talking to people. I will go through their resume with them, suggest some tweaks and things like that, and then keep them in mind if I see something, even if it's not with me. If I happen to see a role that I think they might be a fit for, I'll call them and tell them about it.
I have to share this with you, Heidi. With me doing this podcast and talking to so many professional women like you, I am learning how generous we women really are. And you just made that point because you're taking somebody that's come to you for a specific job. You know she doesn't qualify. You could just say, "Oops, sorry, bye bye," but you don't. You hold her hand and walk her to the right place, and I love that collaborative spirit. And thank you for being that person because we need a lot of it, and we women are pretty natural at it, don't you think?
I do. And part of that is because I didn't really have mentors and sponsors along the way in my career. And I made a lot of mistakes, right? And so now that I'm able to give back, I want to do that. I will say though, I did have a manager that we started out as friends, as peers, and he became a manager to me. And he really helped me along the way later on in my career. So I want to acknowledge that.
That's awesome. And I love this the fact that you shared you've had challenges, but that didn't stop you. So we
I
learn
know.
from them, we get up and keep going. So awesome. So talk to me a little bit about the biggest problems that you see in your industry and how you're working to solve them.
One of the biggest problems, and if you spend any time on LinkedIn on any given day, one of the biggest problems that I see right now is, and it's two-sided, right? Is employers ghosting candidates and candidates ghosting employers.
Mm,
It doesn't play the same when a candidate ghosts an employer, right? But when a company ghosts a candidate, it opens up all types of risk in terms of you know people talk, right? People talk. If there's reputational risk, it makes it harder to find talent because they become known in the industry for a company that does that. So, one of the things that I've started to do in my business is customer feedback, right? So, or candidate feedback. If when somebody works with me, I'll send them a survey and ask them how I did, right? And if they tell me I did a terrible job or whatever, I take that feedback and figure out how to fix that because relationships are currency, right?
mm,
So, I'm a small business, I'm not a big conglomerate, right? In either case, relationships are currency and people talk. I'm about to date myself right here. There used to be a shampoo commercial that said, I forget, I think it was Prel or something like that. And the commercial kept cutting into boxes. And they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends. And that's exactly what happens. I said in a post not long ago on LinkedIn, to date, no one has named a company. But I think if candidates get more frustrated, somebody just may name a company, and I pray that they don't do that.
Right. Well, and I love the fact that you're asking for that specific feedback and taking action on it. And I would love to see people being in the space to providing that feedback in the process. Like if they're not getting what they think they need to be able to say so versus waiting until they're done and then they go, "Blah, blah, blah."
Right.
Right. I mean, that'd be helpful, but not everybody is courageous enough to do that in the moment, and I totally respect that. Well, tell me, where do you see your industry and the work that you're doing going forward in the next 5 to 10 years?
So really the work around recruitment and recruiting agencies, we're starting to use a lot more AI in our businesses. Um, People keep saying AI is going to take over some jobs, and I probably agree with that. But where there are roles that are relational, AI won't take that over. But what it will do is help us work smarter, not harder. It's funny you asked me that because today I was in Chat GPT and I was asking it to help me source specific candidates and where could I find them. And it gave me a whole list, and then it said, and companies like yours, Patrice and Associates. Like, okay, Chatty.
Ain't
But
nothing who you are.
but definitely using more AI. Um, and I can see, even though technology has taken a hit over the last few years in terms of jobs, I believe that the more AI is introduced, the more we're going to need more people um, that know AI that will become AI consultants and work with brands to implement their AI strategies.
Right, because think about, I know like enough to be dangerous when it comes to AI. I do know how to use Chat GPT, so that's kind of amazing. But I think you're right in that the it may replace some work, but it's making us work more effectively to do it more quickly, yes, be more timely. And I love the fact that you shared that that's going to be creating a whole new industry. I mean, a tech industry just around AI. Because how does someone like me, I'm a financial advisor with money management expertise, but I don't know how to put the tools to work. So yeah, somebody's out there going to have to teach me or do it for me,
Right,
and you'll be
right.
recruiting to fill those positions.
Absolutely will be.
Okay, awesome. So I would love for you to share with us a big challenge that you faced to this point in your life and how it actually shaped how you're doing business today. That could be personal or professional, whatever you want to share.
Wow. And ticking through my mind here. One of the biggest challenges that I faced, probably, I'll go personal here. Probably the loss of my brother in 2002.
Mm,
Um, and I can say this, right? My brother was the first man I ever loved, right?
mm,
My mother brought me home from the hospital, put me in his lap, and said, "Here's your baby." He taught me how to walk. We hung out together as everything. He was my best friend.
mhm.
And losing him really changed my entire life. It made me think about and realize what things were important and what things were not. So when I say relationships are currency, I don't just mean it in terms of an exchange, right? Like a barter and exchange. I mean it from a heart place, right? Um, because we can make the money again, we can make new friends, but when you have relationships that close and you lose them, you really reevaluate your entire life. And so it shifted the way I deal with people in general, right? I'm always empathetic, I'm always sympathetic. I had a candidate the other day. We scheduled the phone screen. She emailed me back, said, "Heidi, something just came up. I'm not able to make it." No problem. Your family comes first. Do what you need to do, and let me know when you're able to reschedule. That's the kind of empathy I mean, because at the end of the day, the careers go away and all of that kind of stuff, but it's your family relationships that are still there. And those long lasting relationships that we've made over a lifetime of 37 years in a career. I still talk to my first manager.
Well, that's awesome.
Right. So I think losing him has really been, and I put a post up about this. Interesting you asked me that, is that there are some days that I have to still walk myself through that, right? And get myself through the next door, right? And have to consciously tell myself, okay, Heidi, you have to close that door in order to be able to walk through the next door.
And what I love about what you just said is acknowledging it's okay to be in that space. You just don't need to stay in that space because you got to carry on, right?
It's not, I'm saying it, but it's a learned process over time,
Right. Mhm.
right? It definitely is.
And anyone who has lost someone close to them knows exactly what you're talking about. And for those who haven't had that experience, just hold true to your heart what
Right.
Heidi is sharing with us. Cherish every moment, right? I agree with you 100%. Well, I would love for you to share with me if you could have lunch with one person in the world, living or deceased, who would that be and why?
When I saw that question, I'm like, wow, man, who would that be? I'm going to say Caroline Wonga.
And tell me more about her.
Caroline Wonga is the founder of Wonga Woman and Essence Communications. She was the former uh, VP, I believe, of equity and inclusion at Target. She just shows up authentically. Her hair might be orange, and her fashion is, if you're into things like the Met Gala,
Hmm.
she's that every single day of her life,
I love it.
right? And not afraid to show up in rooms like that.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things she said that has stuck with me is she said, "Fail fast. Learn what you need to learn and learn it quickly."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, fail fast, right? She said, "I probably fail about 6 times during the day." She said, "After the fifth one, I've already learned what I've needed to learn."
Got it.
She's such a powerful, she's actually going to be here in Boston in a few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Are you going to get to
she's,
see her?
I'm not. Unfortunately, I am not. I would be fangirling all over the place too. Um, but I really admire her courage to show up in rooms authentically.
That's awesome. Yes. And I wish more of us were comfortable doing that, literally just being who we are and not having to fit some mold that somebody else has said, this is the way you're supposed to be. So that's significant. Well, I would love for you to now share with our audience how they would reach out to you if they want to learn more about your business model, and how to actually use you as a recruiter.
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Heidi Lewis Ivey. If you go out there, you'll probably see me because I'm out there all day, every day. So you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Or you can email me at hlewisivy at patriceandassociates.com.
Okay, got it. Well, that is fabulous. And I know that this is going to resonate with a lot of our listeners. And y'all don't hesitate, because she's an open heart and ready to serve and get you in the right place. So thank you so much, Heidi, for being a guest today.
Thank you, Donna, for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money, it's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.